Do you remember when presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. loudly and proudly announced his vice presidential running mate, Nicole Shanahan, who, by the way, was a major donor to his campaign, and it seems that it might be one of the first recent examples of someone buying a slot as vice presidential running mate? Remember when that all happened and it was a really big deal? And then she hasn't been seen in public since, and nobody knows what the hell is going on. What on earth is going on here? NBC News reports Nicole Shanahan has been quiet since being named RFK Jr.'s running mate. Shanahan has not held a public event since the big rollout, putting her on Kennedy's ticket in mid-March. And that is absolutely true. Allison Novello, who's an embedded reporter in the 2024 campaign coverage of CBS News, tweeted, quote, Nicole Shanahan, active on social media, hasn't appeared with RFK Jr. since her reveal over 2 weeks ago. This Saturday, Kennedy will be hosting an assembly in Des Moines, Iowa for ballot access, but Shanahan won't be attending, the campaign told CBS News. Going back to the NBC News article, it adds that after leaping into the political spotlight 2 weeks ago, she's been out of the public eye. She's posted a few times on social media, hasn't been to any of Kennedy's events, hasn't done any media appearances. And she did post on Friday that she's going to the southern border and that she's realizing how serious and critical everything on the southern border is. On Monday, the Fox News show Fox and Friends promoted a live joint interview with Kennedy and Shanahan that was supposed to take place yesterday, Tuesday, but Shanahan was missing. And when NBC News reached out to the campaign said, oh, actually, she wasn't supposed to appear. It was lost in translation. It was just a confusion. You know, there's a real question here as to who is using whom. In other words, is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. using Nicole Shanahan for money purposes and doesn't really care about her presence as a vice presidential running mate? Or is Nicole Shanahan using Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to get herself nominally and ostensibly listed somewhere as a vice presidential candidate without herself having any interest in participating in this campaign? I really don't know. And the initial interpretation of the selection of Nicole Shanahan was this is a way to maybe bridge the political divide that sometimes exists with big tech and Silicon Valley. And Nicole Shanahan is going to help bring in more big tech money and Silicon Valley money to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. rather than it being split between Trump and Biden. Maybe that's the point. It's a play on Silicon Valley money. Yeah, maybe that's the case. But as I said at the time, money aside, and money matters, but money aside, it's not obvious to me in any way that Nicole Shanahan actually moves the needle for our RFK in terms of voters. I can't think of a voter. You know, we sometimes it's useful in these instances to envision a particular voter who's impacted by an endorsement or a decision. And back in 2016, when evangelical voters were disproportionately not supporting Trump early in the Republican primary, they were supporting Ted Cruz and maybe Jeb. And then all of a sudden, Ted Cruz says, hey, you know what? We're getting behind Trump. Yes, he called my wife ugly. Yes, he stands for everything we don't stand for, but I'm getting behind Trump. It opened the door for, imagine a particular evangelical voter in rural northern Indiana to say, hey, you know what? I was skeptical about Trump, but Ted Cruz said he's going Trump. I'm going to vote for Trump. I can't think of the voter that is sitting around saying, I'm undecided. Oh, Nicole Shanahan is Robert F. Kennedy's running mate. Now I support Kennedy. I struggle to imagine that that's any serious contingency. And so I don't really know the point of this entire thing. The one good bit of news, and we talked about this already, and I'll state it again. The one good bit of news is that when you look at polling compared to 2 months ago, or from the last week compared to 2 months ago, number one, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is garnering a lower level of support. Many polls lately in which RFK has 6, 7, or 8% support compared to the 14, 16s, and 18s of 2-3 months ago. That's a good sign that a lot of people are waking up to the reality that the next president will be Biden or Trump. supporting Kennedy helps Trump. If you don't want to do that, don't support Kennedy. And number two, when you look at the same poll that does head-to-head Biden versus Trump or a three-way race, the effect of adding Kennedy is less damaging to Biden than it was 2 months ago. There were lots of polls 2-3 months ago where when you went from head-to-head to three-way, the addition of Kennedy would take 4-5 points from Joe Biden. There's lots of recent polls in which adding Kennedy only has the effect of taking a net couple of points, 1, 2, 3 points from Joe Biden. That's another sign that left-leaning voters, Democrats, independents who lean left, are increasingly less bamboozled by the Kennedy presidency. So where is Nicole Shanahan? We don't know. If a tree falls in the woods and there's no one around to hear it, does it make a sound? Well, if your vice presidential candidate is never to be seen again, does she really make a difference to the campaign? That's the question we're asking. We don't yet have an answer. It is time to start thinking like voters and to make sure that kids understand the importance of voting, how it works, registering, ballot initiatives, because so many kids just have no idea. That's why I wrote the new children's book, Think Like a Voter. I can think of no better time and no more important group of folks to try to reach. The book is now available at davidpakman.com/book, where, by the way, you can get the first 2 books in the series as well. Think Like a Detective and Think Like a Scientist. Really important stuff. Donate them to local libraries, classrooms, read them with the kids. davidpakman.com/book.